British boxing champion Anthony Joshua is recovering after being involved in a deadly car crash in Nigeria. Local authorities say Joshua sustained minor bruising in Monday's crash. The crash comes just days after Joshua won a big match against Jake Paul.
Grimacing in pain, Anthony Joshua is pulled from the wreckage of a crumpled SUV, having narrowly escaped death.
The boxing world just went into complete chaos. Jake Paul is now in FBI custody after his name got dragged into the fatal car wreck that almost took out Anthony Joshua. We're talking about a situation where Joshua just demolished him in the ring. Then days later, a crash in Nigeria kills 2 people from Joshua's team, and suddenly, federal agents are knocking on Jake's door. When the superstar lives, his closest people die, and the guy he just destroyed ends up with the feds. You're not looking at coincidence anymore. You're staring at something nobody wants to talk about.
Former world heavyweight champion visibly in pain as he is helped from the wreckage after this horror crash that killed 2 people. Anthony Joshua was injured and taken to hospital.
What was supposed to be a simple celebration trip, after the fight turned into pure destruction. Middle of nowhere, a luxury SUV with Joshua and his crew inside goes from cruising to catastrophe in seconds. One moment they're all smiles, talking about the win, acting like they own the world. Next thing you know, bodies are scattered on the road, and emergency vehicles are racing through the darkness.
He was travelling in, hit a stationary truck on a busy highway in Nigeria. The British boxer is on holiday in Africa following his win over American boxer Jake Paul.
Now here's what's eating at everyone. Joshua walks out as a passenger. The car was top tier, and this was a route they'd driven countless times before. Everything about this screamed safe and controlled. Just regular transport for people who knew exactly where they were going. Then it exploded into deadly chaos without warning. Officials blamed excessive speed and driver error, but the details trickled out in pieces, creating holes in the story that felt wrong and letting suspicion build in all that empty space.
Photos that have emerged online that show him sitting behind the driver's seat with his top off, surrounded with glass, broken glass.
Right there, that's when social media lost its mind. A worldwide celebrity escapes with scratches. 2 loyal friends die on impact. And this disaster happens right after a brutal public beatdown that destroyed egos and put millions in future money at risk. People stopped calling it a freak accident and started seeing something darker, something perfectly timed, hidden behind careful press releases, and wrapped in questions nobody wanted to answer directly.
The crash happened on December 29, 2025, on the Lagos-Ibadan motorway near Makun in Ogun State, a stretch of road known for deadly accidents.
It'd be crazy if all of the fighters who fight Jake Paul end up befalling some sort of terrible tragedy.
But then, Jake Paul dropped the bomb that flipped everything upside down. During all this chaos, he supposedly cracked that Joshua went off script, and those few words spread through the internet like wildfire. Some people laughed it off as typical fight promotion trash talk. Others heard something way more sinister, and suddenly the conversation wasn't about boxing skills anymore. People were analyzing every word, every pause, every moment it was said, and what it really meant.
As news broke, shock rippled through Joshua's hometown community in Nigeria. Adamamala Joshua, the uncle of Anthony Joshua's father, said the news came as a great shock.
Definitely, it was a shock for us. So he has been coming. At least he comes not less than 3-4 times in a year. So that was not the first time of his coming home. So he comes regularly. I applies that road regularly. So they are very conversant with that road. So it was a great shock for us.
That's when everything spiraled out of control. Old footage, private messages, heated arguments from before the fight, forgotten interviews, all of it started flooding back as people tried to build a story that felt massive compared to just 2 guys throwing punches. Analysts started questioning why that specific comment even came up, why it dropped when it did, and why it felt less like marketing and more like someone's real thoughts slipping out when they shouldn't have.
It's that of great love for this man because he's a man of the people. He's very close to the grassroots. He's not the type that goes about with security guard when he comes around. All the people are very close to him, and he too is very free among the people. So it made.
Once that idea took root, the theories didn't just spread, they exploded. The accident, the weird silence afterward, that comment, the timing of everything. It all merged into one giant question, burning up every social platform. Was this just stupid trash talk from someone whose pride got crushed? Or the first glimpse of something that was never meant to leave the boxing ring?
Joshua was in Nigeria following his knockout victory over YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul less than a fortnight ago, who posted online saying he's praying for those who lost their lives and for his former adversary. Joshua posted this on Instagram playing table tennis with Latif Ayodele just hours before the incident.
This is the point where facts start losing to feelings. When enough weird stuff happens around the same person, random chance stops looking random to everyone watching. People getting sick, money disappearing, careers dying overnight. Sure, they're all different situations technically, but they're all emotionally connected in the same online story everyone's telling. The whole thing stopped being about proof and started being about what feels inevitable, exactly the kind of narrative social media turns into a weapon.
The car he was travelling in collided with a stationary truck pictured here in photos taken by the authorities. After his latest victory, what should have been a moment of celebration has instead become one of tragedy.
That's the scary part, because once people think they see a pattern, every fresh disaster feels like it was always going to happen. Every official explanation sounds fake. And every time someone says it's not true, it's too late to matter. When you reach that point, the actual facts don't run the story anymore. The energy does, and that energy has already decided this is way bigger than one car crash or one boxing match.
Sagamu, which is where Joshua has relatives. Of course, he fought 10 days ago in Miami, and he was heading home to Nigeria, where he was brought up. Well, he went to boarding school anyway for the new year.
Something weird happened right after the wreck, though. When a global fight brings in tens of millions, includes international logistics, private security, digital money transfers, and celebrity feuds, any major incident connected to it immediately becomes more than just sports entertainment. That's exactly where fun and games end, and federal agencies start paying attention.
As everybody shouts, Anthony Joshua, me too, I go there. Everybody just they do picture. So me everybody no shouting, so they no loud down. So some people loud down. If you say they will see star, they no go shout.
Word started getting around about timelines, private communications, and business drama connected to the actual fight. The kind of stuff regular fans never hear about. But investigators always find this wasn't about who punched harder anymore. This was about what went down around the fight, what happened after the fight, and what the fight caused to happen. And when those questions started floating around, both investigators and industry insiders noticed Jake Paul's name kept showing up way too close to when everything went wrong.
Within hours, social media users revived a bizarre theory, one that has circulated before, now being called the Jake Paul curse.
Now the story takes a hard left into serious territory. We're talking about money. This fight wasn't just entertainment. It was a massive financial spiderweb of guaranteed payments, performance bonuses, sponsorship deals, gambling exposure, and future contracts that all shifted the second that final bell rang. When one fighter gets crushed that badly, the shockwaves become legal issues, and legal contracts create pressure in places the public never sees.
That fighters who defeat Jake Paul later suffer serious misfortune. Joshua's crash, coming days after his victory over Paul, reignited the theory and pushed it into viral territory.
Away from the cameras, conversations supposedly went from partying to damage control. Corporate sponsors started reconsidering their partnerships, insurance companies began reviewing policy language, and business partners quietly wondered if anything connected to this mess could hurt their own reputation. That's exactly when timelines become evidence. Text messages get saved forever, and every private conversation suddenly becomes important.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Mike Tyson almost died before the fight? He had 8 blood transfusions, lost half his blood. from a bleeding ulcer in the hospital for weeks. Obviously today, it'd be crazy if Anthony Joshua was involved in a fatal car crash where 2 of his friends are now dead.
This is why people stop treating the crash like a random tragedy. When big money collides with reputation destruction, coincidences don't feel innocent anymore. At that moment, the question changes from who hit harder to who had the most to lose when everything fell apart.
Gets into a car accident, 2 people die right after Jake Paul said he didn't follow the script. I'm kind of lost. What script? Was it just boxing or was there something else going on?
Even after the official story came out, the narrative kept growing instead of dying down. Video clips, private screenshots, past interviews, and random comments started reappearing at crazy speed, each one twisted to support a growing theory that felt much bigger than any single incident. Every fresh piece of evidence stretched the timeline in both directions until the crash became the center of something enormous. What made this especially dangerous was how quickly public opinion solidified. Once people decided the whole sequence felt suspicious, every new update got filtered through doubt. Normal explanations sounded scripted, standard operating procedures felt calculated, and staying quiet made people more curious instead of calming them down. The internet stopped waiting for official answers and started creating its own version while everything was still happening.
Little reaction there out of Jake Paul, but when he gets caught with his hands down and his chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face. He knew it right away. He said, woo!
Hey guys, I'm okay.
That's the moment the situation crossed into dangerous territory. A story powered by momentum becomes bulletproof against reassurance, because momentum eats doubt for breakfast. With every passing hour, the question got louder and more insistent. How does one fight, one car crash, and one person's name stay connected this tightly without something much deeper keeping it all together? By this point, the panic wasn't just online anymore. It had moved inside the industry. Promoters went silent. Fighters stopped making jokes. Every public figure who usually jumped at the chance to comment suddenly became very careful with their words, or said absolutely nothing. Because everyone realized the same truth at the exact same moment. Stories like this don't just fade away cleanly. They leave scars behind, even when no criminal charges ever get filed.
The Union Jack flag alongside the Nigerian flag when Anthony Joshua fights. He's often spoken so proudly about his Nigerian heritage and his right shoulder. There's often a tattoo of an Africa flag with Nigeria map inscribed in there. So when it comes to Nigeria, Anthony Joshua is very proud of his heritage. He's often seen visiting the country.
Behind closed doors, the worry became about collateral damage. Future fights got put on hold. Sponsorship deals quietly got reevaluated. Legal teams jumped in early. Not because anyone proved anything, but because uncertainty itself had become toxic to business. In professional boxing, what people think can cost more than actually losing a fight, and right now what people think is completely radioactive. That's why this moment became more important than the crash, more critical than the comments, more significant than all the theories combined, because when a story reaches this intensity level, careers don't wait around for court verdicts. They respond to immediate pressure, and that pressure was already crushing everyone connected to this situation, getting tighter every single hour, whether anybody was brave enough to say it out loud or not.
Comfort, but according to police anyway, they are minor injuries and he is fine. But the family are saying that they are shocked by what's happened. And there was a brief statement, we're hoping for his speedy recovery, they say, and also the people who sadly passed away.
This is the exact point where the story jumped from wild speculation into accepted truth. The Jake Paul curse stopped being an internet meme and started getting discussed like it was a scientific law, repeated so frequently that people talked about it like documented historical fact. Timelines got connected, names got listed, and every piece of bad luck that ever happened to a former opponent got sucked into one continuous narrative that felt impossible to dismiss. Content creators jumped on the pattern. What if this happened turned into a constant rhythm, hammered home until random chance started looking like careful planning. Medical emergencies, financial disasters, personal meltdowns. Sure, they were all different situations on the surface, but emotionally they got fused into one single story with Jake Paul's name right in the middle of everything. When you reach that point, evidence becomes irrelevant. Familiarity takes control, and familiarity creates absolute certainty in the digital world.
Adding that he was praying for Anthony Joshua, the victims, and everyone affected.
Once that belief system locks in, it feeds itself forever. Every fresh news story strengthens the legend. Every denial makes the suspicion stronger, and every moment of silence gets read as admission of guilt. That's when a theory stops needing any evidence at all, because the crowd has already decided the pattern feels legitimate, and emotions now beat facts every single time. So did the internet create a massive conspiracy theory out of a terrible tragedy, or did this boxing match start a chain reaction so explosive that even the people who know what really happened are choosing to stay silent instead of providing answers?